In this video, we'll be looking at articles used with generic nouns. Let's begin. A generic noun is used to make generalizations. A generic noun represents a whole class of things. It's not a specific real or concrete thing, but it is a symbol of a whole group. Let's look at some examples. A polar bear is white. And number 2, polar bears are white. So in both of these examples, the speaker is talking about any polar bear, all polar bears in general. They're not talking about only one polar bear or only a few specific polar bears. This is a general statement about all or any polar bears. Number 3, cheese goes well with crackers. So in this example, the speaker is talking about any cheese, all cheese, cheese in general. The speaker is not only talking about one piece of cheese or one type of cheese or any specific amount of cheese. So we can see that we use a or un with a generic singular count noun. So here's a with polar bear, a singular count noun, and this is the generic use. And we use no article with a generic plural count noun or non-count nouns. So this is an example of a generic plural count noun, and cheese is a non-count noun. Let's look at some more examples. So singular count nouns with a or un that are generic. A computer is helpful for homework. So in this example, we're not talking about only one computer or a specific computer. This is a general statement about computers in general. An orange is round. So also in this example, we're not talking about only one orange or a specific orange. This is talking about oranges in general. A hurricane can be dangerous. This example is also not talking about only one specific hurricane. It's talking about hurricanes in general. So this is the generic use of singular count nouns with a or un. These are some examples of plural count nouns with no article that are generic nouns. So we have computers are helpful for homework, oranges are round, hurricanes can be dangerous. So these are almost the same as the previous examples, except that we can see the plural form of the nouns instead of the singular form with a or un. They have essentially the same meaning. Both of these examples are talking about a class of items, not specific things. Articles with generic nouns, non-count nouns with no article. Let's look at examples with non-count nouns. Number 1, exercise increases energy. Exercise is a non-count noun, and this is not something specific. It's not any specific exercise we're referring to. This is exercise in general. Number 2, fruit contains vitamins. So fruit is a non-count noun, and in this example, we're talking about fruit in general, any fruit or all fruit. So it's not just specific fruit that contains vitamins. Children need attention. So in this example, attention is a non-count noun, and it's generic because there's not any specific attention that we are referring to. This is attention in general. So this is the generic use. Here are some examples with a singular generic noun. So the is sometimes used with a singular generic count noun, and the generic the is commonly used with species of animals, inventions, and musical instruments. So these are very specific categories when we use the with a singular generic noun. Here are some examples. The polar bear has thicker fur than any other bear. So polar bear is a species of animal, so we can use the for this generic noun. So again, this has a similar meaning to saying a polar bear has thicker fur or polar bears have thicker fur. These are all different ways of expressing the generic noun. Number 2, who invented the wheel, the telephone, the airplane? So the wheel, the telephone, and the airplane are inventions. So we can use the in front of inventions for the generic noun. I'd like to learn to play the piano. Do you play the guitar? So piano and guitar are musical instruments, so we can use the for the generic use of these instruments. The can also be used with nouns that are groups of people. So some common examples of nouns that refer to groups of people are the poor, the wealthy, the unemployed, the weak, the sick, the needy. So number 1, Janice works with the elderly. The elderly means older people. It's another noun that refers to a group of people. So we can use the with that word. Do the wealthy have a responsibility to help the poor? So again, we can use the with wealthy because that represents a group of people, and poor also represents a group of people. These are also generic nouns. Here's a summary of articles with generic, definite, and indefinite nouns. So there's a similar chart in the previous video. This one adds the column of generic. So we can see that generic and indefinite are very similar. It's the same for singular count nouns, and it's similar for plural and non-count nouns. The only difference is that for indefinite nouns, we can use some, but for the generic noun, we do not use some.